This guy pushing a cart.
Oh, really? She's still in school? Okay, I was going to say, you seem like she's been in school forever. Or maybe it's just... Nice. No, I got 47. Yeah.
Thank you.
Kind of
Getting that wrong. Almost. Yes.
You're so right. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Because I tried to get him to do the same thing when he was actually kind of going to school. I tried to get him to do the same thing. I even called the radio station myself. I was like, can he do this kind of stuff or whatever? You know. And then we're watching, he was watching Marshall UCF Sun Belt Soccer Championship online the other day. It was like this kid, he went sideline reporting through the freaking, and I was like, there you go, dumbass. There it is. Yeah, I was like, because the kid that was doing it literally looked like he just rolled out fucking bed, and he looked like he was out 12. I mean, I know he's a kid, but I mean, he literally looked like he hadn't come to see her or gotten dressed hardly at all. It was like embarrassing. I was like, dude, you could have done that. I think they're going to make the tournament. Well, that was Sun Belt Championship, so yeah, so they knocked off. They knocked off West Virginia.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, no, well, they won it like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, no, Marshall's good. They got a couple of Ruski brothers. I think tournament starts this weekend. I'll find out.
Who was that? Vermont last year?
Is that who won? NCAA men's soccer.
It's so cool.
Yep, starts Thursday. Yeah. Cornell and Lafayette are making, I'm sure. Denver, Irvine, Seton Hall, Siena, UCLA. Greensboro and Elon. Elon in the tournament. Clemson plays Western Michigan, I knew that. Michigan, Virginia, North Carolina, North Florida, Syracuse, Kansas City, Linwood, Central Florida, Florida Atlantic, West Virginia, St. John's, Marshall, Cleveland State, St. Louis, Kentucky, and Oregon State, Washington. No. Elon made it? I wonder where the game is. I mean, it's not far for either one. It's literally like a 20-minute drive between Burlington and Elon. I mean, Burlington and Greensboro. They used to have $3 doubles in the bar in Greensboro.
Make a short night.
Oh, dude, about three people sunrises.
And you're seeing the sunrise.
Three doubles of those, and you're just like,
Yeah, no, I'm just checking.
That's not going to work.
That's just like 3 doubles of that. It's like, just get
Do I not look comfortable?
I haven't, no, I really just, I just saw the kid that was still there.
Okay.
It's not that crowded right now. Well, during the COVID.
So,
And you know, go to the subway. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Yeah. I know you've been here before, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Basement navigation here.
Everybody's here.
Yes, I did.
Oh.
We're in the same place.
Coffee.
Oh,
I don't know if you can try anything.
Yeah, they put a.
I don't think you can, well, because first you put out the versus like 20. But that was 2 years ago. Maybe, I mean, I don't know.
Create a little more long term, little.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
File it within an
Yeah,
hour.
well, because a lot of it was,
There's something not right. The column is still pointing up. There's no correction.
they're talking about all this.
No, you're it was green. You know, basically, I mean, it was a one. It was on the way to shows correcting a full, in a period of time. It was honestly a mistake. It was thought it was a great mistake.
Really? Those Facebook killers and stuff. Go out here and go down this path.
Picked out the photo, did the top, made all these post-processing decisions. And now they're
Oh, yes, sir.
I mean, I guess
You're gonna be able to film one next spring.
you know, Olympus came out with a, half frame. Yeah, it looks like a TikTok kind of. Last year.
Film one, film one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was just on the website.
Okay.
I'm sure.
I'm a native New Yorker. I mean, it's 4 to 5 maybe.
Still son of a day. I guess he's got a new son.
Oh, mobile. See, I don't read it. I personally never read it on mobile. I read on the web. Okay. Okay, fine. I don't generally read it on my phone. I read on the computer screen, a full website. Because I only see my own work. I don't read everything. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. What makes sense?
It's just a song. It's a new song.
I was in New York last week. I actually met, I'd always heard of James Epstein, but I finally met him last week. I was in Harlem last week.
Just on the way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. But like I never actually met the guy until last week. Here's a funny question. No, whatever. We talked about it like that. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. That's all.
Morning, everyone. Next week throughout America, families will be gathered together at the dining room table, and millions of Americans are going to experience sticker shock as they prepare for Thanksgiving. The Trump administration itself acknowledges that the cost of turkeys has gone up 40% since last November. Grocery costs are through the roof, housing costs out of control, electricity bills through the roof, and the Trump administration and Republicans here in Congress continue to refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. That means that tens of millions of Americans are about to experience dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles. In some cases, health insurance costs are going to go up $1,000 or $2,000 per month. We have a cost of living crisis in the United States of America, and Donald Trump and Republicans haven't done a damn thing about it. In fact, costs aren't going down, costs are going up all throughout America. And the Trump tariffs are costing everyday Americans thousands of dollars in additional expense per year. Now, House Republicans were on vacation for 7+ weeks, a taxpayer-funded vacation, until they were forced to crawl back into town. We have a week of legislative session that began on Monday and will last until Friday. And House Republicans haven't brought a single bill to the floor that actually addresses the high cost of living in the United States of America. It's perplexing. What is wrong with these people? What did they not get from their shellacking 2 weeks ago all across America, up and down the ballot, in state after state after state, where the American people have made clear we don't support Republican extremism. Republicans have done nothing to make our life better. And we're thankful for Democrats for continuing to lean in to driving down the high cost of living. And now we're in the midst of this healthcare affordability fight. And Donald Trump's response to it is, let's repeal the Affordable Care Act. No credible plan to make healthcare more affordable for the American people. Donald Trump's plan, adopted by House Republicans, is let's repeal the Affordable Care Act, and we're going to continue to refuse to extend tax credits that make healthcare more affordable for working class Americans, middle class Americans, and everyday Americans. House Democrats are going to continue to stand on the side of the American people. Our fight will be to continue to lower the high cost of living, to address the Republican health care crisis, fix our broken health care system, extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, and actually do things that are designed to make life more affordable for the American people. Questions? Manu?
During the very high-profile Michael Cohen hearing, Stacey Plaskett was in direct communication with Jeffrey Epstein, and this was after he pleaded guilty to sex crimes. This is after the Miami Herald investigation into all these heinous acts. So why, as a Democratic leader, why are you okay with that?
I expressed my position on the floor yesterday. My statement speaks for itself. In a bipartisan way, the resolution that was introduced targeting Stacey Plaskett was defeated. And it was defeated for several reasons, including the fact that it was a dramatic overreach related to throwing her off her committees. Democrats, if you're going to ask a question, you got to let me answer. Democrats and Republicans defeated the censure. Stacey Plaskett has made clear her position as it relates to Jeffrey Epstein repeatedly, and her words speak for itself.
She said, quick, next.
Thanks.
Next.
Thank you, Leader. Now, following up on that, should Plaskett be sent to ethics, and should there be an ethics investigation?
There was a vote on that yesterday. my vote speaks for itself. Republicans decided not to go down that road. Thanks.
Have you met with MBS yet? And if so, what was discussed? And if not yet, will you be?
I was part of the bipartisan meeting hosted by the Speaker this morning. I asked the Crown Prince about his views relative to a just and lasting peace between Israel and the Palestinian people, and his views as it relates to the importance of a two-state solution. The Crown Prince reiterated his view that a one-state solution in Israel is impractical, and that the best path forward, of course, involving the reconstruction of Gaza, is to eventually find a robust path toward a safe and secure Israel, living side by side in peace and prosperity with a Palestinian state. I support that position. I think we'll continue to stand by the special relationship between our two countries. It's incredibly important. But as we move forward to find a path toward a just and lasting peace, ultimately, it has to involve a safe and secure Israel, living side by side in peace and prosperity with a Palestinian state, where the Palestinian people can realize their aspirations for dignity and self-determination. Crown Prince reiterated what he has said publicly, his commitment toward finding that path forward.
Was Jamal Khashoggi mentioned at all in his murder?
It wasn't mentioned in the conversations that I was a part of throughout the meeting. Okay.
Leader Schumer told reporters yesterday that he consented to adding the Senate phone records provision that the House will vote on tonight to repeal. He said that he wants to make sure that at least Democratic senators were protected from Bondi and others who might go after them later on. Were you previously aware of Schumer's consent, and what's your reaction to it given your opposition to the provision?
No, and I haven't had the conversation with Leader Schumer. What I can tell you is that during the Rules Committee that House Republicans had last week, they expressed their outrage. Republicans expressed their outrage at this Republican senatorial slush fund that was put into the spending agreement that they all voted for, notwithstanding the outrage that 8 Republican senators have basically built into law a slush fund that will give those senators millions of taxpayer dollars. That's special treatment for United States senators in the Republican Party, part of the bill that they all voted for last week. Now, later on today, we're going to be voting on legislation to remove that Senate slush fund that benefits 8 Republican senators. But apparently there's no agreement between Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune that the Senate Republicans will take up that provision, which reinforces the point that everything that House Republicans do is for show. It's not serious. It's not designed to get an end result. And that's why Republicans are suffering all across the country, why the American people, the overwhelming majority of the American people, know that the country is moving in the wrong direction, that the economy is broken, that the Republican control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency has been a disaster for the American people, because everything House Republicans do is for show. They can't even get a commitment from Senate Republicans to take up legislation to remove this multi-million-dollar taxpayer-funded slush fund to benefit corrupt Republicans in the Senate. It's time for the House to start to actually do things that matter for the American people in the middle of a cost of living crisis that's devastating hardworking American taxpayers all across the country. But Republicans throughout this week have shown zero interest in making life better for everyday Americans. They continue to be all about the wealthy, the well-off, and their well-connected GOP donors. Thanks. Back. Yep.
Thank you. On the Affordable Care Act, Democrats are, obviously you said you want an extension of the tax credits. The president says he won't sign that. Senate and House Republicans are talking about various other alternatives. Is there a potential for compromise here? And if so, where does that originate from? Because it seems like the parties are talking past each other.
We're in the middle of open enrollment right now. So tens of millions of people all throughout the country realize that their health insurance premiums are skyrocketing because of the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And during the Trump Republican shutdown, we repeatedly indicated that we want to work together in good faith with the other side of the aisle to address the Republican health care crisis. And Leader Schumer even offered a very reasonable proposal, which is a one-year extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits and then a bipartisan commission to discuss fixing our broken health care system moving forward that Republicans continue to devastate. And Republicans refuse to take yes for an answer. And so at this moment in time, the House Democratic position is very clear, very simple, very easy, very straightforward. A 3-year extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits before they expire on December 31st of this year. If Republicans refuse to act, the American people will understand why their health insurance premiums are through the roof and why tens of millions of Americans will no longer be able to go see a doctor when they need one.
Leader Jeffries. Thank you so much, Leader Jeffries. House Oversight Chairman Comer said yesterday on the floor that you had Jeffrey Epstein over for dinner and took money from him back in 2013. This was after he was on the sex offender list. Any comment on that? And will you be holding members accountable regardless of party affiliation if there were any misdeeds related to the Epstein?
Was that a serious question or a serious statement from malignant clown James Comer, that I had Jeffrey Epstein over for dinner, that I accepted money from Jeffrey Epstein? What's extraordinary to me about the clown show on the other side of the aisle is that they lie with impunity on things that are objectively verifiable. And why do they do that? It's because for months, Republicans have been burying the Jeffrey Epstein files, not Democrats. Our view continues to be the same. We want to make sure that what the survivors have asked for, which is full and complete transparency in order to bring about accountability, actually happens. And Congress decisively and in a bipartisan way acted yesterday with respect to the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. That's a victory for the survivors and a victory for the American people. And Donald Trump needs to sign that bill into law expeditiously. Thanks.
Some Republicans have implied that there's been a backdoor deal made for those Republican votes yesterday on the plastic censure in return for not bringing up a Corey Mill censure. Do you have any response to that? And was there a backdoor deal made?
What Republicans have suggested that? Yeah, the only thing that I can say is that Democrats are not going to unilaterally disarm. And there's a long list of Republicans worthy of censure. A long list of Republicans. Not enough time in the legislative calendar if Republicans want to go down this road of censuring members or throwing them off committees. Thanks. Back row.
A couple months ago, you had done an event downstairs with Jared Golden to promote a discharge petition on restoring some collective bargaining rights for federal workers. That discharge petition hit 218 on Monday. I'm just wondering what happens now. Do you anticipate that will be called up? Will there be a vote on that bill in December?
Well, Speaker Johnson is required, pursuant to the discharge petition, to set in motion an up or down vote on restoring collective bargaining for hardworking federal employees. And that's a bipartisan discharge petition that will trigger that vote. So we know the votes exist in the House of Representatives. But this is another example of Republicans attacking hard-working American taxpayers, working families, members of organized labor, everyday Americans and middle-class Americans who benefit from union involvement and union participation and collective bargaining against powerful interests across the country. The House Republican majority has been a complete and total failure. They have failed the American people. Life has not gotten better, despite all of their promises to lower the cost of living on day one. Costs have not gone down. Costs have gone up. And the American people know it's because of failed Republican policies. Thanks.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. Throughout shutdown, you really emerged on the national stage, and President Trump didn't hold back his attacks. I know this may sound perhaps counterintuitive, but it just gives you perhaps more confidence that he sees you as a strong opponent, the one who can move the political needle, and will you consider a presidential run 2028?
Well, I appreciate you suggesting that throughout the shutdown I emerged on the national stage. I think my mother has done a good job of circulating talking points in that regard. But this fight was always about the American people and putting the American people first. And we're going to continue to lean into that fight, to lower the high cost of living, to fix our broken healthcare system, and to clean up corruption. In the Congress, that is going to start with making sure we prohibit stock trading by members of the United States Congress. And of course, we've got to deal with corruption within the Supreme Court and in the administration, the most corrupt administration in American history. Our focus on the non-governmental side will continue to be taking back control of the United States House of Representatives, because that's the most significant thing that can be done to begin the process of ending this national nightmare that has been visited on the American people by Donald Trump and Republicans. And Democrats are going to take back control of the House of Representatives. And we're going to do so decisively. This whole notion, it was always a fantasy. Some people bought into it. This whole notion that Republicans were going to be able to gerrymander their way into rigging the midterm elections, and Democrats in the House were just going to unilaterally disarm, roll over, and play dead was a fantasy. And I told that to Mike Johnson months ago, directly. This is not going to end well for you. I told that directly to Mike Johnson, early, when it was suggested that Texas was going to move aggressively. Because they must have us confused. We recognize the urgency of the moment. And in state after state, we will continue to decisively and forcefully respond, as we've done in Texas, in California. We're doing it now in Missouri, on the ground, in Virginia, in Illinois, in Maryland, litigation in New York, pushing back against their efforts in red states throughout the country, and of course, with a decisive legal victory in Utah. So our focus is on making life better for the American people, stopping this Donald Trump-inspired effort to gerrymander the national congressional map in order to rig the midterm elections. They started this redistricting fight. We will end it. And that's the reality that extreme MAGA Republicans are confronting right now.
Just to follow up on that, though, in light of the Texas ruling yesterday, do you worry at some point some of your counter efforts could also be invalidated?
The Texas congressional map that was racially gerrymandered in violation of the law was declared to be unconstitutional in an opinion written by a judge appointed by Donald Trump who centered that opinion on the corruption and the incompetence and the clear racial motivation of the Department of Injustice. That's the reality of that decision in Texas. It was as clear as day that Donald Trump and Republicans violated the 14th and the 15th Amendments of the United States Constitution. And then they jammed that gerrymandered map down the throats of the people of the great state of Texas. In the dead of night. In California, it was a democratic process that ultimately was presented to the voters in the form of Proposition 50. And I'm thankful for the leadership of Governor Newsom. The congressional delegation in California did a tremendous job with respect to the leadership that we saw from everyone. Nancy Pelosi, Pete Aguilar, Zoe Lofgren, incredible job, but everyone in the delegation, and of course working with our partners in the state legislature, they intentionally leaned into a democratic process that also ensured there was strict compliance with both the Voting Rights Act as well as the 14th and 15th Amendment to the United States Constitution. Very different process. And so the litigation that has been filed, or at least threatened, by the Department of Injustice against the California map is frivolous. And by the way, these people at the Department of Justice are both corrupt and incompetent. So much so that they detonated their own gerrymandering efforts in Texas. And because Texas has fallen, these people are now in full panic mode because they've set in motion a process that is not going to work out well for them in the end. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. You said just a moment ago that there's a long list of Republicans worthy of censure. Nancy Mace is going to be offering a privileged motion to censure Corey Mills later today. How do you plan to vote on that resolution, and will Democratic leadership be whipping your caucus for this vote?
We haven't had a conversation about the resolution because we haven't seen the resolution, so I'll have to take a look at it. Thanks. Yes?
President Trump has been posting on social media recently about health care, specifically saying that the only health care he will support is sending money directly back to the people. Has anyone from the White House or Republican Party approached you or anyone else in the Democratic Party about a specific plan?
No, there hasn't been a single bit of outreach from Donald Trump or the White House about confronting the Republican health care crisis because they're not serious about it. It's not even clear to me that Donald Trump understands how the Affordable Care Act tax credits operate, because hardworking American taxpayers currently have the option to either utilize the tax credits on a monthly basis to lower their health insurance premiums significantly, or take the tax credits in connection to the filing of their taxes at some point on or before April 15th. The money can already go directly to the taxpayer. So Donald Trump has zero idea of what he's talking about. This is all fantasy. It's all political theater from Donald Trump. He's got no interest in making health care more affordable for the American people. And by the way, this is the same group of folks, House Republicans, who have literally tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act more than 70 different times over the last 15 years. This is the reason why in public opinion survey after public opinion survey, before the Trump shutdown, during the Trump shutdown, and after the Trump shutdown, the American people overwhelmingly trust Democrats to deal with fixing our broken healthcare system.
Thank you. Just to clarify and a follow-up question on the James Comer accusation
Jeffrey Epstein in exchange for a meet and greet? Because he's saying that there's emails proving that.
I have no idea what James Comer is talking about in terms of anything that any prior consultant may have sent. I had no idea about that either. But James Comer apparently made the representation on the floor of the House that I sat down with Jeffrey Epstein, had dinner with Jeffrey Epstein, have contributions from Jeffrey Epstein. He's a stone cold liar, and James Comer knows it. This is all part of an effort to try to deflect from their failures as a House majority to deal with the issues of importance to everyday Americans, and of course, to the fact that Republicans have been running a pedophile protection program for the last several months until the survivors, partnering with a handful of courageous Republicans led by Representative Massey, partnering with Representative Connor and House Democrats, forced Donald Trump, forced Mike Johnson, and forced the Republicans to capitulate so that the American people could have the transparency that they deserve.
And just a quick
Thanks.
follow-up, do you regret that Stacey Plaskett did what she did, and is that something that you would tell other Democrats not to do in the future?
I think that Stacey Plaskett has spoken extensively on this issue, and I'll let her words speak for themselves.
Thank you. Following up on ACA, I know you mentioned your position is the district petition for the 3-year extension, but what about something like the Kevin Kiley, Sam Ricardo, the bipartisan bill that does, it's a 2-year extension, it adds income taxes, a couple other conditions. Is that something that leadership could get behind?
Yeah, the House Democratic position right now, supported by the overwhelming majority of House Democrats, is a 3-year extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Now, Republicans have repeatedly been given the opportunity to take yes for an answer and to address this health care crisis that they've created, which includes but is not limited to the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. That's what they did in their one big ugly bill. And as a result of what Republicans have done, hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers are closing all across the country, including in rural America. This is devastating everyday Americans. And at the same period of time, Republicans set in motion a possible cut to Medicare. They're going after the Centers for Disease Control, $1.7 billion cut to the CDC. That will be the largest cut in American history. In this appropriations process, that's what Republicans are trying to do. They also want to enact the largest cut, about $500 million, to the National Institute of Health. That will be the largest cut in American history. And on top of all of that, Republicans continue to refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, jeopardizing the health and well-being of tens of millions of Americans. Mike Johnson has said he's got no interest in dealing with this issue. There's no urgency. We're back this week full-time. He's done nothing. No bills, no discussion, no outreach. Why? Because Republicans aren't interested in making life better for everyday Americans. Republicans, like they did in their one big ugly bill, largest cut to Medicaid in American history, ripped $186 billion in SNAP funding from hungry children, seniors, and veterans. And why did they do all of that? To provide massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors, which they made permanent. But now Republicans can't even find a dime or the time of day to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for tens of millions of working class Americans. Shame on them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again? Always something. Great job.
Hey, great job, everybody.
It's like you've never taken a picture of him before.
You know, today, most days,
my second job.
Wow.
Yeah,
They should pay you double.
thank you.
Is there anyone you want me to call? Tell that?
Everybody.
Everybody?
It's all right.
Hey,
All the people.
everybody!
All the people. Does he not like you?
We've all done
Or does he just like to blow you off the stage?
He does this sometimes. I was telling Manu, like Linda, I go, I think he hates me because he wrote my question. He goes, he doesn't hate you, he hates your network.
Yes.
And I was like, okay.
But he still comes to
But
him.
it could also be because yesterday or Monday, I
You
can't
did-
remember.
you did the
I
same thing
followed
earlier.
him outside and I got like
Hey.
questions and nobody else got that.
Oh, okay.
I'm good.
I like hogged it.
But then, we had a press Monday, didn't we?
That's, yeah. So like,
My
he
apologies.
gave me a question before.
But you have to watch.
Literally, it was like listening to the same thing.
Was that the, are they out? I don't know. I don't know.
YouTube, 10-minute highlight.
Highlight, yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
I know.
it's a
Who I wonder is his
Oh, okay.
if you're gonna
Stop.
stop.
I'm not exactly a scholar. But
Like, it's
I mean,
crazy.
it was
Hey,
great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. Of course, yeah, that's the joy.
I feel bad.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know, man.
Oh, that was literally, you could replay the press conference that he did Monday.
Yes, yes.
It was literally, I'm not lying.
It was absolutely a copy.
It was almost identical, man.
Yeah.
Almost identical.
Did I make a mistake? I wanted to watch the highlights.
No, no, no.
Scotland.
No, no.
Okay.
No.
I saw something the other day where they, what was the end?
4-2.
Scotland.
I think that was it. I think they still have a chance of getting in.
No, that was it.
That was it?
Yeah.
This was the last of the qualifiers.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know if Denmark got in or not. I know Scotland,
they
they
didn't.
didn't, because Scotland won the group.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know how the rest of it went.
It was 2-2 at full time and it went into extra